else in all creation has any power to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord.
Good morning. My name is Bill Trench, and for at least the next hour, I'm still the senior pastor and the lead pastor here today. This is my last Sunday. I'll be retiring. I'm here this morning with Pastor Carol Reale. You just met her as she read the scripture, and Mona Stevens, one of our ministers of music, who played the prelude, and Al Meyer, our AV tech guru. So I want to mention that, as I said, I'm getting done. Next two Sundays, Pastor Carol will be leading worship, and then our new pastor, Pastor Catherine Johnson, will be leading worship on the 12th of July. So our first hymn this morning is going to be Lord of All Hopefulness, which is the same tune as Be Thou My Vision. You just heard Mona play that. We're going to do all four verses because they belong together. And this is kind of an alpha and omega for me, because when I was an intern in acting, of course we were using a different hymnal at that point, and one of the folks commented, not to me but to an usher, that he hated it when he came in on Sunday morning and saw that we were singing Be Thou My Vision, looking at the numbers on the signboard, the way we used to do it in those days. If we were singing Be Thou My Vision, he said, it always meant one of the interns was preaching. So it's the same way now. The journeys that have brought us to this place are as varied and different as the human race. We celebrate the sacred worth of every journey because it's brought us to this time and this place before God and in the presence of one another. We are seekers and doubters and believers called to be followers of Jesus. Let's continue in a spirit of worship.
Be
Now is the time when we lift up before God and one another those concerns and celebrations most in our hearts and minds this morning. The Fellowship of Concern is printed in your bulletin. We ask your prayers for these persons now and throughout the week. I also want to invite you, if you'd like to share in the chat feature of Facebook, you can share your concerns if you have not already done so. And Mona's going to play for just a moment or two so that you can do that. Let's be in a spirit of prayer. On this Father's Day, we pray especially for those suffering with COVID-19, for those who are isolated, for those who've passed away, for those who come to their first Father's Day without their dads. And we pray today for our fathers. Grant us grace to be generous in forgiving their faults, honest in affirming their gifts. Thank you for hard work and honest effort. Thank you for good intentions, for faithfulness and dedication. But we also pray for those who have never been able to be good fathers, those who have been absent or abusive or uncaring. Heal the wounds that they have left on your children. In so many ways, O Lord, it has been a year of losses. Where have you gone, Mookie Betts? A nation turns its lonely eyes to you. And to Tom Brady. And we ask why? Why John Henry? And why Bill Belichick? And why couldn't you just get along? Well, again, we give you thanks for guide things, for tractors and lawnmowers, for weed whackers, for cordless drills, for socket wrenches, for duct tape and WD-40. We give you thanks for remote control, for ESPN and ESPN2, although they are vacant now. We know that one day soon they'll be once again alive with those wonderful sounds and sights of baseball and football and all the things that make life worth living. We give you thanks, O Lord, for line drives and touchdowns, for days when we don't have to shave, for coffee in the morning, for exercise. We thank you for really slick 6-speed transmissions, for torque and horsepower, for V-twins and 2-strokes and V8s. And finally, we thank you for the women in our lives, for those who raised us and those who love us, for the daughters we want to protect and the grandmothers we want to honor, for those who make us better than we otherwise would be. We pray this morning for the people of this church and for the friends and families closest to us. Heal and protect and strengthen them according to their need, and comfort those who mourn with the assurance of your presence. And in that hope, we join together in that great prayer of world community, praying as Jesus taught us, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Hi, y'all. Well, I promised myself I was going to be calm and collected this morning, knowing that there's an awful lot that we have to be grateful for. And on Father's Day especially, we give thanks for those who have protected us and loved us and fathered us. And this morning, I'd like to say this children's moment is about a special father. It's about Carolyn's father. And I'm looking at Elaine sitting there. It's lovely to see her. Yes, I'm going to keep it together. Here I go. This book is called Good Night, Baseball. The great big stadium is outside of town. Fans and friends come from miles around. We walk through the gates. We each take our place to get a good view of the mound and the base. We eat popcorn and hot dogs and hold drinks in our laps with the names of our favorite teams bright on our caps. What's your favorite team? We know Pastor Bill's favorite team. Can't miss it, right? We watch all the players who catch and who throw, and the runners who race to each base down below. With the crack of the bat, a home run, what a hit! Look, the little ball lands in one lucky fan's mitt. The fans stand and stretch at the late 7th inning, and the game goes on, the home team close to winning. Everyone cheers, the home team won. Now the fans are all chanting, we're number one. Then the crowd waves goodbye. Goodbye, teams. You played a great game. Now sleep well and sweet dreams. Good night, diamond. Good night, grass. Good night, home plate where each runner ran past. Good night, bat. Good night, mitt that reached up high and caught a fast hit. Good night, popcorn boxes under the stands. Good night, mascot. And good night, fans. Good night, friends. Good night, cars. Good night, stadium under the stars. Good night, Daddy. Good night, moon. Good night, baseball. Safe in my room. Let's say a prayer this morning. Gracious God, saying good night or goodbye when something or someone has meant so much is so very hard. As the sun goes down on our time with Pastor Bill, we have memories that are safe with us. They are a part of our faith. Thank you, God, for our pastor, teacher, and friend. Let him now follow his new dreams, continuing in your spirit. He has hit a home run with us. And now the scripture that I will share this morning is from the book of Luke, chapter 15, verses 11 through 24. Then Jesus said, there was a man who had 2 sons. A younger one of them said to his father, Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me. So he divided the property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered the property, desolate living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who had sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired hands have eaten bread enough to spare? But here I am, dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands. So he set off, and he went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his slaves, quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and get the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. As we hear what the Spirit says to the church, may our hearts be open.
Well, I want to say thank you, Pastor Carol. In the book of Samuel, it says of the prophet Samuel, none of his words fell to the ground. I've always loved that. And the passage, the Samuel passage, comes up in the lectionary at the time when we do Martin Luther King Sunday. So it always seems to fit. But I thought of that as I thought about this passage in Luke's Gospel, this the parable of the prodigal son. It is the genius of Luke to tell this story, and the genius of Jesus to tell this story in such a magnificent way. It is something which we could read profitably every single day. And it speaks to us powerfully, I think, of the grace of God. So, I want to start on Friday. On Friday, I was at the Kettle Point Surgical Center, which I'd never heard of before, in East Providence. It's one of these things that I never heard of it, but you know, it's the size of a hospital. I mean, it's just this giant thing. The University Orthopedics people run it. They're the people that have the bottom floor next door. So I was there for a procedure on my lower back because I have so much pain in my leg, pinched nerve kind of a thing, that not only can I not drive a car for very long, I can't sit in a car for very long. So we're hoping this helps, but in case it doesn't help, I've asked Larry Stanley to drive my beloved Mustang to Maine this week when we move. And you might ask, why did I ask Larry? Well, Larry's a friend, but I have other friends. And I have other friends who drive stick shift as well. But I asked Larry particularly because soon after I got the car, I took Larry out to lunch, and on the way back to the church, I invited him to drive it. So we're going down Frenchtown, and then we turned north on Route 2. When we turned north on Route 2, Larry spun the wheels in first gear, second gear, and third gear. And so I said to myself, this is a guy who would enjoy driving the car. I mean, it's a long drive, but if anybody would get something out of it, I thought Larry would. So anyway, I was at the surgical center, and I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and the phone rings. I'm sitting with Elaine, of course. I'm gesturing because Elaine is here this morning. Yes, sweetheart, it's good to have you here. Anyway, so anyway, the phone rings, and I picked it up, of course, and I look at it, and it's 207, which means it's Maine, and it's 371, which means it's Georgetown, a landline, and I thought, okay, so I need to take this. And I got up from the waiting room area and walked into this, actually it's like a giant atrium. I mean, it's a beautiful space. Actually, not unlike our narthex, except it looks out over the bay. It's incredible. So I went out there, there's nobody there, and I figured I could have a phone conversation. And so I'm listening, of course, for who's on the other end, and I can hear somebody speaking, but it's muffled, and I can't tell what they're really saying. And then eventually, the muffled speaking stops, and the voice on the other end says, "It's Walter Pinkham." And I said, of course, well, good to hear your voice, Walter. He says, "I was wearing my mask. I was thinking, phone call, such an intimate thing. maybe I'd need to wear my mask if I'm going to talk to you. I also thought I could put the phone on the other end of the table, put it on speaker, and that'd be okay too. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So you don't need to worry even a little bit about it. We're quite at a distance. And I said, well, you know, we're living in strange times, aren't we? He said, you bet we are. You know, I was at Georgetown store the other day, and I'm standing there in line. They only do takeout now. Only got the takeout. Now I'm wearing my mask, and I'm waiting for my fish and chips. They're real good fish and chips at the store. So I'm waiting for that. And behind me is Bud Springer. And I turn around, and he has no mask on whatsoever. So I say, Bud, you need to have your mask on. And Bud says, well, you know, it's nothing but a hoax. And I says to him, well, 120,000 people died. It'd be gold comfort to them to tell them it's a hoax, not to mention their loved ones. And I said, well, yeah, that is tough. There are people who think they said, Bud, he said, Bud, he don't just think COVID's a hoax. He thinks global warming's a hoax. And I say to him, Bud, why do you think there's lobsters marching across the Gulf of Maine to Nova Scotia? They know that the water's warming up. They do. You can't fool a crustacean. Well, I said, you know, Walter, we haven't talked in ages. He said, that's because you never called me. And I said, well, you know, I'm one poor correspondent, but it don't mean you ain't been on my mind. Yeah, he said, sure enough. Congratulations on your retirement. And I said, well, you know, the congratulations part, that's a weird thing. People often say congratulations on your retirement. I think it's kind of like, you know, I had an MRI before I had the procedure, and so the tech person, really nice person, we go through, and I've been there for a few minutes, and she interrupts the thing to say, you're doing great. And then 15, 20 minutes later, we're done, and she says, we're all done. You did great. And I thought, you know what, I was just lying here. That's all you do. You just lie there and don't move. It's not like so I think retirement is kind of like a participation trophy. You know, you just finish it. And Walter said, well, yeah, but it must be a bittersweet moment. And I said, well, you know, it's hard in a way, but it's not bitter. It's not bitter at all. I love being a pastor. I love preaching. I love planning sermons. I like trying to think creatively about stuff. When I was in high school, you know, I did some acting, and I get a little bit of a chance to do that here, and I love to tell stories. So that's all good. And I work with great, actually totally awesome colleagues, planning worship, and that's lots of fun. And great lay people that do it as well. Sue Cruz put together, can you see the chancel celebration? Now, I'm not sure about the Yankee hat. I have a little reservation about the Yankee hat. But it's a Ted Williams kind of a theme, and totally awesome. Take me out to the ball game. Well, anyway, so as I told Walter, I've loved being a pastor, every piece, but I love the pastoral part of it. You know, you get to be with people at the beginning and the end of their lives, and all the life cycle moments in between, and people. So I see people when they're happiest and when they're saddest, and I truly believe that at those times, the happiest times and the most difficult times, are times when people are at their best, and that's a neat thing. And then you know, hey, there's problems and there's issues and stuff, but I like that too. I like solving that. So it's all good, and I'll miss it, but it's not bitter. It's been great. So Walter, I said, how did you know I was retiring? Well, I said, your co-pastor called me. I said, okay, Walter, so technically, you know, you realize I'm the lead pastor. I'm the senior pastor. I'm the guy in charge. Yeah, she's been carrying you. I've been watching, I tune in, and it's as if she finishes the children's moment, she ought to say, okay, Pastor Bill, don't screw it up. And then we finish. But let's face it, I don't think you could have done it at all without her. And I said, well, Walter, that's true. He said, well, I've been tuning in, and I love to see it. And your wife sung so good last Sunday. It's like an angel. Just one. Reminds me of her mother. Your mother-in-law, Billy Todd? What a singer. What a singer. I miss Billy all the time. Billy and Warren, great folks. And I said, well, you're going to enjoy because this morning Elaine is singing again. She's singing a song, special song that I asked her to sing. It's called Thirsty Boots. It's written by Eric Anderson. It's from 1965. It's about the civil rights marches. And I said, your wife Elizabeth was in those marches. Yeah? Yeah, she was. She was. Elizabeth been on the right side of every issue forever, I said, well, yeah. History repeats. He said, well, yeah, history repeats. Of course, last time we had a president who actually cared about it. I said, well, yeah, I guess that's true. I guess that's true, Walter. So how are you doing? I asked him. Well, I said, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing better than good. I'm doing great. Of course, Elizabeth been gone 40 years, and I miss her every single day. Every day. And, John died in an accident on a Rousick. When I go by there, I know it's not a corner anymore. They straightened the road, so you could barely see where the old road was. Every day it's a little less. But when I go by there, I can't help thinking about John. And then after that, when Eddie left, good grief, my world, I thought, had come to an end. Eddie's a troubled kid. Good kid, but always had sort of a hard time making his way real close to his mom, and he worshipped John. So when they were gone, it was tough, and he left. He just left home, and I couldn't reach him, didn't know where he was, didn't know what he's doing. Then he come back, and he brought Susan. Susan, who's like the daughter I never had. She is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman. And then, of course, Rebecca came along. Well, so Eddie and Susan are doing great. Eddie's working, he does a general contracting thing, and then Saturdays he's doing Habitat out in Lewiston or somewhere else, and he's working Habitat like it's a job, and he's got religion now. I think I told you that. He's got religion, and so he's always quoting the Bible to me, which annoys me no end. I couldn't get him to read that book for years and years and years and years, and now he's quoting to me. Can't imagine how frustrating that is, but he's come along, and that's good. And Susan takes after the mother-in-law she never met. She is an evangelist for Black Lives Matter. You want to know about white privilege? Susan's going to tell you. She's going to tell you in a nice way. You're going to feel good about it, and you're going to learn something. So Susan's wonderful. They're good folk. And so Rebecca's still my angel, and she and Stephen, they're bringing in the kingdom of God. Slow work, hard work, but they're at it. And Stephen, of course, is the most Christian atheist I ever met. he's easier for me to talk to than Eddie, to tell you the truth. But anyway, so Stephen, he's wonderful, and the kids, Wesley and Elizabeth, named, of course, from my Elizabeth. They're good too. So that's all great. And then we got Ebony. Now you met Ebony last summer. I don't know if you remember Ebony, but Ebony's parents come from Somalia, and then Ebony's born in this country, but her parents from Somalia, and Mr. Trump sent him back to Somalia. So Stephen was her social worker, and so he needed to find a place for her, and what he did was he just brought her to visit with Eddie and Susan, because he knew it was going to happen. Just brought a friend, and so they talked at dinner. And of course, Susan and Ebony like this, just like that, right away. And when he explained the situation, Eddie and Susan said, "Well, we'll adopt her." So they did. And great young woman, wicked smart. So she just finished freshman year at Bowdoin, she did. And Dean's List, she takes after me. I said, "Walter, you never get tired of that, do you?" "No, well, she does take after me." So let me tell you a story. Says Walter. Last fall, Ebony's driving, she's going on an errand, and she's got her father's car, the Boss 302. I said, "Wait a minute. So Eddie's got a Mustang?" I mean, I thought he had an F-150. Walter said, "Everybody's got an F-150. Everybody's got an F-150, and they got a Subaru. That's what they give you. When you drive over the back river, they give you an F-150 and a Subaru, and that's how you live in Georgetown." So, of course he's got an F-150, but he's also got a Boss 302. He said, "So, he's got a Mustang." Walter says, "It ain't just a Mustang. And let me tell you, it'll smoke your little hot rod something fierce." Okay, so she's in the 302, and she's driving in Brunswick, and comes to a stoplight. She's waiting in line, and it's slow light, and she's waiting. Eventually, light changes, and she starts going, and then it gets to yellow, and she goes straight to the yellow. Okay, and there's a cop there. She didn't see the cop. Okay, the cop saw her, so he pulls out behind her, and pretty quick there's blue lights flashing, and he pulls her over. Okay, so he says, "You're on a red light." She says, "Well, officer, no, I didn't. It was yellow, I admit, but it was not red." He said, "Well, it was red. By the time you got to the intersection, it was red, and you need to stop on the red light." So they talked a little bit, and she very politely said to him, "I think you're racial profiling here." "Yeah, I think, yeah." And he says, "Well, you went through a red light." And then he doesn't give her a ticket. He doesn't even give her a written warning. He just says, you be careful, don't do that again, and lets her go. So then, that was full. So then, 4 weeks ago maybe, there's a rally in Brunswick on the green, Black Lives Matter kind of thing. And people turning out, of course, for it, lots of folks. So, Ebony was there, of course, and Susan, and Eddie, and Rebecca, and Stephen, and Wesley, and Elizabeth. They're all there. So they're all there, and everybody keeping social distance, careful, and they got their masks on and so forth. And where they are, there's a fella not too far away, young guy, and he's got his mask on too, and he's kind of by himself, nobody around. So eventually, he takes off his mask. He got a water bottle. He takes off his mask, and he's drinking from the water bottle. And Ebony looks over, and she says, "I think I know that fella. I think I know that guy." And she tries to think, and eventually she realizes, because he's not in uniform, but this is the cop that stopped her. So she walks over, puts a mask back on, walks over, and keeps distance, of course, and says, do you remember me? And of course, she's got the mask on, and he says, well, you know, if you take the, you know, and she backs up and takes the mask off, and he says, yeah, I remember you. He says, you're the cop that stopped me when I went through the yellow light. You told me it was a red light. He says, well, it was a red light. That's why I told you it was a red light. And she says, again, I think you're racial profiling. And what are you doing at a Black Lives Matter a protest anyway? And he says, well, you know, can't a cop care about police brutality? And she says, well, yeah, sure, I guess. But I think you stopped me because you're racial profiling. And he says, no. And she says, weren't you thinking that's a black person, I'm going to stop him? He says, no. And she says, so what were you thinking when you pulled me over? And she told me the fella turns beet red right there. And he says, well, I'm not sure this is a better answer, but I thought it was a good way to meet a pretty young woman. So then he introduces himself. His name is Jimmy Stevens. So, and I said, you know, I think I know a Jimmy Stevens, but, and Walt said, well, the Jimmy Stevens you know is about my age. Then he's got a son, little Jimmy, about Eddie's age, and then little Jimmy got a son, and they named him Jimmy. And of course, if Jimmy has a son, it'd be little Jimmy, because they kind of rotate the generations like that. Stevens has never been good on names. They kind of, you know, keep just the same thing. Anyway, so Ebony and this Jimmy Stevens from Georgetown, you know, they struck up a conversation, and the thing is, Ebony's dating a cop. How funny is that? And I said, so, yeah, that's good, that's great. So, speaking of Georgetown, I was thinking about your boat, the Wayward Son. Yeah, that's my boat. And I said, so, how did you come up with that name? Is it, you know, I'm thinking of the story of the prodigal son. Is that where it comes from? Well, sort of. It sort of comes from there, but you know, that ain't the first boat I had with Wayward Son. I mean, that's I don't know, third, fourth, fifth, something like that. First one was a little skiff. I was in high school, and I thought I was a tough dude, so I thought Wayward Son was just right for me. And then I got one of those dories that Billy Plummer was selling, and named that Wayward Son. And then I got a lobster boat eventually, and another lobster boat, and they've all been Wayward Son. The thing is, I've never been far from Georgetown, but I've been lost a lot. And I've been in a far country. Everybody's been in a far country, one time or another. And everybody trying to get home. So, Wayward Son is a name that anybody could use. So, when are you coming home to Georgetown? And I said, well, I don't know, you know, COVID-19 and all that. He said, well, when you get here, you come over, and we're going to sit on the porch. We're going to look out on the Sheepshead River, and we're going to dream of better days. And I said, you know, that sounds... And he said, I'm going to get Eddie's Boss 302, and you can drive me to the Dairy Queen. And I said, well, Walter, that sounds great. And he said, well, tell your folks I'm going to miss them, you know. I feel like I know those people after all these He is? And I said, well, Walter, they're going to miss you too.
If one be
husband, you've shown us caring as well by letting him minister to us. And so this is, as you know, restored stained glass from the church on Main Street. And when you first saw it, I remember you just oohing and on over it. And we had it in mind from the very beginning that this would be our gift to you. And on behalf of the church, we'd just like to say thank you and the very, very best. So I will wipe this off and then we'll give it to you. Yes, virtual hugs. And Pastor Bill, yes, we have another person who's here to speak on behalf of the church. I'm just going to double check where that person might be. Hopefully I haven't gotten any text that I'm not aware of.
Okay.
Here. Oh, there. And there is that person. We're keeping all of our distance, you see.
Yeah, I gotta go up here.
Okay.
That's what Al tells me. Oops. How we doing, Bill?
We're doing.
We're doing. So before we give you a bit of a present, I got a few comments that I want to make. But they're really not sort of my thoughts, they're thoughts based on the 20 years that I've been here and the things that I've seen and the feedback from folks and all the times that we've had together. So hopefully, and I do believe these represent the feelings and thoughts of the entire congregation, both past and present. So it is my pleasure as chair of the staff parish to present to you a gift from the entire congregation. But before I present the gift to you, I'd like to thank you on behalf of the congregation for the gifts that you've given to us over the last 20 years. When you got here 20 years ago, we certainly had some fairly significant challenges, financial, spiritual, relational, and you were brought into a very difficult situation. But as always, you thrived. You became our shepherd, and we were your flock. You taught us, tended to us, loved us, made some really tough decisions with us, but you became our leader. But like any great shepherd or leader, you did the most important job possible. So you empowered us and allowed us to grow and for us to thrive, so we could become more than we ever possibly thought we could. One of the greatest gifts that you've given to us is helping us create a loving, welcoming, and fully inclusive spirit in our congregation. One that mirrors God's love and grace. But that wasn't easy, as you know. At first, you helped us see the opportunity and the need. We talked about it and we sort of understood it in our heads. That it made sense, was more like a strategy and a process, that's something you do at work. But these things only make sense if they become deeper than that. So most importantly, as we were doing and talking about these things, you were living them. You did them through your conversations, your preaching, your stances on tough topics, including inclusion, your spiritual beliefs, and all of your teachings. And then it happened. It went from what seemed like a good idea and a sort of a theoretical exercise of the mind to a way of being and a spiritual experience of the heart and soul for our entire congregation. And now, loving, caring, inclusion, welcoming is something that comes natural to us and is what this congregation is all about. And so we really thank you for all of that. You created a foundation here at our church that both through personal and communal problems we've been able to sort of go through the storms. As in Matthew 7:24, the rains certainly came. The winds did blow, but we have a rock as a foundation, and for 20 years, you were that rock. You've led us through difficult times, and we thank you for that. And Bill, someone in your role, I think, has a really difficult job. It's impossible to please and to serve everyone, and it can be very difficult. Yet in some ways, it can be simple. You have a goal and you achieve it. So as Methodists, we, I guess, have to read the goal. The mission of the church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. And from my perspective, that's been one of your single greatest accomplishments. Because beyond anything else, you've created at this church disciples that serve each other, our community, and the world in ways that we never could have imagined 20 years ago. The work being done by the people in this church to serve the community is utterly amazing. It's astounding, and it comes from you. Matthew 25, which is one of my favorites, Jesus says, "For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." Check, check, check. When you think about it, this is what happens in our church. This is what everyone in our church does: feeding, clothing, visiting, caring, loving, supporting, all of those things, be it their jobs, in nonprofits, their families. And it's you that have taught us to do those things and have prepared us to do those things, and you should be very, 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 very proud. In the end, we have what many believe is your crowning achievement, and that's Pastor Carol. You've said a lot of times you're not sure why you originally went to her about the job. Perhaps it was the Holy Spirit. Whatever the reason, you were so right. Pastor Carol has flourished under your loving guidance and teaching. She is such a blessing to our entire congregation, not just the kids. Her love, enthusiasm, and caring enhance everything we are as a congregation. So, thanks for listening to whoever or whatever spoke to you. You've left us a true gift in Pastor Carol. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. So we have ready for our gift. As Carol's getting that, I will say, in the Wilson family when I was young, we sort of had like the rip and tear approach to a gift. So if it was Christmas or birthdays or whatever, so the card kind of got lost in the shuffle. So I figured I'd read the card before you get the gift.
Oh, that is very cool.
So
That is very cool.
we didn't, as a congregation, we had our first choice was sort of a cool 6-speed manual transmission car, but that just wasn't in the cards. So next we went to start what's simple. Red Sox, baseball, the greatest hitter ever. And so it's a custom painted picture of Ted Williams from a person who I met that lives on the Cape.
Ah,
So congratulations, enjoy, and thank you.
thank you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And I'll wipe that off.
And I'll go this way.
Okay. Pastor Bill, we do have also messages for you and for Elaine from a few other of your close friends, and to see them, it might be going towards the screen.
Okay. So I need to walk over there, you're telling me?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Stay away from Mona.
Yep.
We miss you, Pastor Bill. You're a pretty smart guy who knows what he's talking about. I like your fun times. Sorry. No, Hi, Pastor Bill. We'll miss you very much, and we hope you have a great day.
You make services so much fun, and you will be missed. Happy retirement.
Hi, Pastor Bill. Hope you have a great retirement.
We'll miss seeing you at church. Have a great summer.
Happy retirement, Pastor Bill. We'll miss you.
Hi, Pastor Bill.
Hi, Elaine.
We just wanted to say we're really going to miss you, and we wish you a lot of luck on your retirement. Thank you for being our pastor, and we love you. Bye.
Bye. Pastor Bill, send you a big hug. Hi.
Hi, Pastor Bill.
Hi, Pastor Bill. Happy retirement. Have a wonderful time in Maine.
We'll miss you. Visit Rhode Island soon.
Visit Rhode Island soon. Bye. Bye.
Hi, Pastor Bill.
We'll miss you.
Yeah, a lot. Bye. Bye.
We will send you forth good news that God loves you and accepts you just the way that you are. And by that love and acceptance calls to you and to me to accept this day and this life as God's gift, to live it to the full, and to share God's love and hope and joy with one another. Amen. I'm going to miss you, Pastor Bill.
Just wanted to say happy retirement. I hope you and Elaine have great adventures in the years to come, and we're going to miss you so much. Thank you so much for making my family and myself feel so welcomed at the church. I remember when Scarlett had just been born and would like to always babble and talk and coo while you were delivering your sermon. And one of the times we got up because she started getting a little loud, and you thanked her for her wise words during your sermon, and it just made me feel so special, and that I belonged there. So thank you so much, and look forward to hearing about all your adventures. Happy retirement.
One of the best years of my life was 1970-71, my last year in seminary, when I worked with Dale White at East Greenwich United Methodist Church. So with some personal interest in the future of the church, I celebrated when you, Bill, were appointed there. Bill, you combine a keen wit, incisive intelligence, passion for love and justice, and down-to-earth good nature. My life has been enriched by yours over these many years. And Evelyn and I look forward to being neighbors with you and Elaine at Wesley by the Sea. Many blessings to you, and thanks.
I love you, Pastor Bill.
We love you, Pastor Bill.
Love you, Bill. We're going to miss you at the church. We just want to send you a quick message. It's been wonderful to have you for 20 years, which it's a long time to be at one church, but we're so glad for it, and I hope you have a great retirement and enjoy your new free time. But we did want to shoot you out a message, and we're really going to miss you.
We're thinking of you, sending you our prayers. Love you.
Thank you for teaching us that God loves us just the way we are, and that we should love each other just the way we are.
It was always nice seeing your smile after every service.
We wish you a very happy retirement.
You made us feel comfortable, you made us laugh, and we're going to miss you very much. Thank you, Pastor Trump.
Hello, Pastor Bill and Elaine from the Isle of Lewis, Scotland.
We have lots of happy memories of our time with you at East Greenwich.
Sending you our very best wishes for a long, happy and healthy retirement.
Shalom.
Laura, what is your favorite memory of Pastor Bill and Elaine or his sermons?
Well, I think it was the sermon on the Georgetown Mount.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, you know,
the amount of stuff that needs to be organized or thrown away before moving to Georgetown?
Oh, I get that. Say, do you remember that summer when you and I drove up to Maine to see Bill and Elaine?
Yes, I do. We saw Todd Island and the seaside splendor with the rocks, and I remember driving into nature thinking this must be the inspiration for Elaine's writings. And I remember the grand old house and thinking, wow, this is a comfortable place. It feels like home.
Boy, it'd be nice if there was another place like that.
There has been. It's been the United Methodist Church at East Greenwich under the leadership of Pastor Bill Trench.
I agree.
Congratulations, Pastor Bill, on your retirement.
Hey, Bill, congratulations. We wish you the best from the DeCesare family, and we hope you have a wonderful retirement and you do awesome stuff.
Congratulations! Good luck! Bill and Elaine, Bob and I would like to wish you the best, the happiness in your retirement and life in Maine. And we want to thank you for the 20 years that you've given so much to us.
Hey, Bill, I hope to join you pretty soon in retirement. 6 more months for me. We can go to Red Sox games during the day in the middle of the week.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Enjoy yourself.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Bill, go forth and keep doing what you're doing. I know you're a big baseball fan, but to quote who I think may be the greatest basketball coach and one of the best teachers of all time, John Wooden, success is a peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing that you did your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. I know that your life's work has been dedicated around hard work, having poise, friendships, and as a result, you've been extremely successful. And we all benefited from that, and I'd like to thank you from everybody. And I know you can look in the mirror and say that you've done the best that you possibly can. So God bless to you and your family. Go make great things happen like you always have. And go Sox.
Hi, Bill. Go forth and enjoy your retirement. You are leaving us with a legacy of wisdom, inspiration, and humor. Thank you for being a pillar of our church for so many years.
Hi, Pastor Bill and Elaine. I want to say you deserve a round of applause for a job well done. Enjoy your retirement with your wife, Elaine. God bless you both, and come visit us sometime. Amen. I love you.
Bill, thank you for your counsel, advice, and moral leadership.
Bill and Elaine, we will miss you. Good luck in the next chapter of your life together.
Hi, Bill and Elaine. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you for all the wonderful memories.
Bill, congratulations on your retirement. Bill and Elaine, we're going to miss you guys so much.
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much for everything that you guys meant to our family and to the congregation. We're gonna miss you terribly, but congratulations.
Hi, Pastor Bill. Thank you for having been our pastor.
We send you forth with love and joy.
Hey, Bill. We just wanted to wish you a wonderful retirement. We're going to miss you so much at church. You've made that experience for us amazing. Hope you and Elaine have a great retirement.
Hey, Bill. Congratulations on 20 years of a great job at EGUMC. We wish you and Elaine the best as you start your new chapter up in Maine. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was totally awesome and wonderful. I really enjoyed it. And thank you, Rob Wilson, for that wonderful remembrance and your kind words. You have been an awesome and a great leader over the past 20 years. So I will not attempt to mention all the people who made this so special. Obviously, I want to say thanks to our staff people, particularly Mona and Beth, who made the music ministry so great. But over the years, of course, we've going back, David, for that, Jennifer, and Kim and Susan, and Karen as well. Awesome music over the years. I want to say thanks to Cheryl Martin, who was our office manager for almost all of the 20 years that I've been here. Of course, Erin's done a great job since then. That's been terrific. Thank you to Al for the AV over the last several weeks. You'll notice I have on my Palm Sunday time with the Palms, which always remind me both of little kids who are so very special to us here in church, but also the idea that every human hand face is an opportunity to encounter the presence of God. And I want to say thank you to Elaine, for putting up with me for all these years and the work schedule and all of that. But most especially today, because I totally loved that song, and you were awesome, sweetheart. That was few things I like better than listening to Elaine sing. And Pastor Carol, for 18 years that we've worked together, you've been both a colleague and a friend, a great advisor, a wonderful co-worker. You've made this fun. You've made this really good. And I will miss that working relationship a lot. You can see I'm stalled back here. But I send you forth with good news. God loves you and accepts you just the way that you are. And by that love and acceptance calls to you and to me to accept this day and this life as God's gift, to live it to the full, to share God's love and hope and joy with one another.